More insights from the conference that's looking at the possibility of Mumbai turning into a world-class mega city. We are now joined by Mr. Jaitirth Rao, who's chairman of the Value and Budget Housing Corporation. Sir, it's great to have you here. Thanks for taking all the time and talking to us.
To be here.
You know, when someone says affordable housing and Mumbai in the same sentence, to a lot of people it probably doesn't make any sense.
It's an oxymoron.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah. What do you have to say to this?
Well, I think we've done it deliberately and consciously. Nothing is God-given or something. It's not as if some divine entity somewhere said that housing should be unaffordable in Mumbai. We've chosen to make it so. All great cities in the world, including Mumbai, have been built on reclaimed land. We've made reclamation impossible with CRZ regulations. There would be no Mahim Causeway, there would be no Colaba Causeway if you had the laws of today. There would be no Mumbai if you had the laws of today operating then. There would be no railway lines. There would be no Mumbai-Pune railway if you had the laws that we have today on the statute books. So we've done it to ourselves. In 1939-40, we imposed rent control as a temporary wartime measure. We never took it away. And when the Supreme Court, in fact, gave a very good judgment saying take it away, our state assembly chose not to take it away. So we have done these things to ourselves. We have master plans which do not take into account the reality of how Indians live. Indians don't see the distinction between residential and commercial the way people in other countries may. It's quite okay for us if I live on the third floor and on the first floor there's a doctor with a consulting room and on the ground floor there's a pharmacy. We think that's quite okay. But our laws are written as if we live in some kind of suburban western mega plan. In any case, the day we make the master plan, we start violating it. So it's a kind of meaningless document. We've not invested in transportation infrastructure. In 1947, Mumbai was one of the most advanced cities in Asia. We had 2 excellent electric suburban lines. We had tram lines all over the city. We had an excellent suburban bus service. We have nothing in terms of additions to it till now. In fact, the bullet train in Japan is 40 years old. I'm not even talking about importing or introducing 1-year-old technology. We haven't introduced 40-year-old technology. Our trains are still as slow. So how can you develop a big city? Then, even within areas designated as MMRDA, part of Mumbai, we love these big acronyms in India, these big abbreviations.
There's so many of them with respect to Mumbai.
Metropolitan Regional Development Authority. It sounds so gorgeous. Even within that area, if I buy land from you, to get it converted from agricultural to non-agricultural, residential, takes 2 years. Now, why should there be agricultural land within the urban city? Makes no sense. And it's not just for me. Even if a government department wanted to build a hospital there, it would take them 2 years to get change of use. And I'm not talking about change of use to polluting industry or to something mega commercial, even for residential. We've chosen to keep our FSI very low, so vertical growth has been limited. We've chosen to have CRZ. And when we pass a new law, we never eliminate the old law. So we have to adhere to the old law and to the new law. The 1920s conversion of agricultural to residential, the 1950s law, the 1980s law, then the most recent law, and every year we add 2 more laws, 2 more regulations, and we never get rid of the old.
Why is it that this problem of complete civic apathy and this creaking infrastructure is so stark here in Mumbai, whereas other cities within this country seem to be faring relatively better at least? Is it just a pure issue of politics?
Well, it's relative is the word I would take there. First of all, compared to the other cities of Asia, Jakarta, I'm not even talking about China, I'm talking about Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok. There's no Indian city in that league.
Yes.
So we keep getting happy by saying we are better than Burundi. I mean, that's true, but that's not a source of happiness as far as I'm concerned. So the issue really is that they're all pretty bad. Mumbai, I think, is worse for a couple of reasons. One, because we're by the sea, we're stuck with the CRZ. We're stuck with this inability to reclaim land. And all great cities in the world, Singapore, Hong Kong, it's all about reclaiming land. They wouldn't have a Hong Kong airport, new airport, if they hadn't created a whole new island in the sea. So that's one big. And then we've also got this this problem of not understanding decline and regeneration. It takes us 30 years to understand that the textile industry has declined and we should regenerate that area. And we don't do it in any systematic manner.
You do it through multiple court
piecemeal, haphazard manner. Neither do the workers get any money, nor does it get developed properly. Whereas in London, when they realized that it was no longer a port city and the docklands had declined, they created a Canary Wharf, they created a whole new regenerated area. Decline and regeneration. Now we have a lovely port on the mainland, JNPT. Why are we keeping Bombay Port alive? We should take that, make it a marina. It's got huge amount of land. We can develop it, we can do it well. But no, there's, frankly, those 5,000 workers, I think we can pay them off very handsomely and still do a good job. But it's somewhere at caught between Ministry of Shipping and government of Maharashtra. They're ruled by the same party. I don't see why they can't sit across the table and figure it out. So Mumbai, yes, because Mumbai has got a coastal problem and it has got an inability to understand decline and regeneration. If you don't understand decline and regeneration, our solution...
We only understand decline, I think.
Now, our solution is to try and create new things, do a new Mumbai, do a BKC, fine. I'm not pretty good ideas. But we should also say, let's allow for regeneration. In America, there's lots of parts of cities which went downhill and subsequently they've revived. That's life. Life is about, when we die, our children come up. That's life. We're not going to live forever.
Sure.
Same thing is true with neighborhoods. Uses change. How bitter and how awkward and how ultimately demoralizing has been the mill land redevelopment, which is still not complete in Mumbai.
And with very little supporting civic infrastructure to support these,
First of all, we treated the workers awfully. They didn't get anything, which is terrible. Then there was no planning, different mills at different times.
Bid at high prices.
Someplace recently in one of the ruined mills, some rape took place. It's become an urban wasteland, unnecessary. It's right in the heart of town. Same with the Bombay port. Salt pan lands. We don't do. Salt production is no longer done through salt pans like there was 100 years ago. Still we don't know who owns it. Does Government of India own it? Which ministry? So we spent 20 years in some abstract Vedantic Maya discussion rather than some concrete decisions to move ahead.
I come to housing and I know that this conversation is sounding fairly cynical or perhaps fairly realistic. Coming to housing and this concept of affordable housing, the constant strain that one hears from the real estate industry in the city is that what do? There's a demand-supply mismatch and supply is so limited and demand is huge and therefore prices should of course be above.
Why is supply limited? Supply is limited because we have artificially held back land. You have something called MMRDA, right? I told you. If it is part of the Mumbai metropolitan area, why should there be agricultural land there? In fact, it isn't. We know it's not. But it's classified in the 1920 revenue records as agricultural. And therefore, for 2 years, 3 years, I won't give you approval to start construction. I mean, the supply is there. All you have to do is to drive from Bombay to Panvel. There's plenty of land on both sides and most of it is not cultivated. It can be, you can create, but you choose not to because you've kind of artificially created these laws and everything requires a minimum of 17 to 30 approvals. In fact, if you had 2 acres of land near Panvel, which is, frankly, Panvel is not, some rural Kaziranga wildlife sanctuary. It's right next door. It should be part of Greater Mumbai, right? You can build a 5,000 square feet gorgeous farmhouse with no approvals, which is what rich people do. So you've created a set of laws which is actually pro-rich and anti-poor, claiming all the while to be inclusive. In fact, and I'm not saying these were all deliberate Machiavellian plots? Probably not. Each time in 1920, in 1950, in 1980, when a new law was introduced, there must have been good reasons. But over the years, they have become irrelevant and they're interlocking one on top of the other, and we don't know where to go.
So finally, to conclude this, if there were to be some kind of a solution, and I know that it's wheels moving within wheels, but what do you think are the immediate
Only
issues
two things.
that need to be addressed?
We need a regulatory overhaul, and we need a regulatory overhaul at a detailed level. We don't want mantras like single window clearance. We want you to get rid of this agricultural to residential. I should be able to pay a lakh of rupees an acre. Automatically it should happen, period. We cannot have a 2-year process for approval. We must take the regulatory process, tear it apart in detail and reconstruct it. And we must say, if I've introduced MOEF approval, then automatically I can't have Pollution Control Board approval. You can't have both of them. It doesn't make sense. It's redundant. So we need to do that, and people don't want to engage in detail. They want to sit at the highest level, curse builders or curse politicians, or say, let's give single window. Those mantras don't work, and those curses don't work. We, all of us, you, I, everyone in this game has to engage in detail, and we need a regulatory overhaul. Second, we must invest in transportation. We must take those suburban train corridors and put bullet trains on them. We got to do things like that, and if you don't do them, coastal transportation, at least 9 months in the year when it's not raining, we can do vigorous coastal transportation. You can take a junk in Hong Kong and go onto the main sea and go to neighboring islands. You can do things. Why can't we do it? It can be done, but these are the two things. There are many other things like port trust land, mill land, all those things, but they are subsets. The real issue is, are we willing to engage in detail as citizens in regulatory overhaul, not in mantras, not in curses? And are we willing to understand that great cities need outstanding transportation networks, and we have to invest in them?
Oh, we just hope that policymakers at some level at least are listening.
No, I'm quite cynical, quite frankly, as you said. I think we've said this before. This is a long haul. I don't, this policymakers' business, let's not outsource it to them. All of us have to get into it and have to engage in excruciating detail. This is not an easy job. These laws have developed over 100 years, all of them valid, relevant at each point in time. But now they have become an albatross. It's simply crushing the citizenry of our city.
Thank you so much for your thoughts.